listen, laugh, and learn.
You have to drill that target audience.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Until they are consuming your product, not because they love it, but because they can't escape.
We're all business.
Drill, baby, no more pussyfooting around.
Except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host John Nash. We are the Focus Group, where we're all business except when we're not. Be sure to follow along with us each week at focusgroupradio.com to select your platform of choice. And remember to subscribe, like, and rate us. We're also now available through Apple TV on the Reverie app, so you can sit in your Barca lounger with a cup of coffee or a Manhattan and watch the Focus Group at any time you want, because we're available 24/7. We also have a phone number. It's 914-362-8747. Again, 914-362-8747 or 914-FOCUS-GR. And you can leave us messages there or give us ideas or critique. And if we use your question on air, you'll get a pair of our famous Focus Group Radio socks. That opening, John, Sarah Palin, she seems to have disappeared.
God, I was still laughing about that, especially that way she says, no more pussyfooting around, the way she rolls that around.
She was in that disco blouse when she introduced Trump so many months ago, and then she seems to have disappeared.
And then when you were saying, we also have a phone number, I literally went like, remember phones?
Remember phones? You can give us a call.
I had a flashback to, did you do radio contests when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
To try to win concert
And you would have
tickets?
the number dialed right 6, and then you would have your finger to...
Yeah. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. On the show today, we have our usual banter. We have a guest today from Away Travel. John had actually seen an article about Jen Rubio and her partner, Steph Corey, and they had started this company. They're from Warby Parker, but they started this company called Away Travel, which is a direct-to-consumer luggage company. Both of them were named from Forbes magazines for 30 under 30, which is a pretty big deal. So we'll be excited to have her join us later on in the show today.
And the whole concept was simplify, create a nice, usable carry-on bag that's durable. It's not going to break, right?
It's another thing we missed, and I was frustrated when I read the article about it because you and I have complained about that with luggage. I saw. Have you seen this new Untucked shirt?
No.
So one of my biggest beefs is when you wear your shirt untucked, it's either too long or it's too short.
Well, the tails aren't designed for that, yeah.
But some guy, he's now got a place down in Soho on Prince Street?
And it's untucked, yeah.
And it's called Untucked and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, where were we? So next time you and I start complaining about something, we need to fix it and make some money. We missed out on luggage. We missed out on the shirt.
We didn't miss out on anything with Untucked, okay?
Do you think that's going to work?
I'm just going to say it.
TV commercials, someone's
Can I just
paying?
say it to you this way? I was once buying a suit, and the tailor was measuring the stuff, and I mentioned something about not tucking a shirt in. And the guy looks at me, he goes, every gentleman tucks his shirt in. And it was like this boom, boom, And I
Unless
said,
he's fat.
and that's exactly what he said. He said, if you don't want to stay fit and trim, he goes, then you might want to look at an untucked shirt. And so I kind of associate untucked with unkempt, or not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I want to. Well, yeah, you're right. All right. So what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
That's the voice of the Focus Group, Drew Birdsey.
And
thank you to Garrett and John in the booth for always keeping the show on the die. All right, so I have a special one for you, Tim.
Uh-oh.
Caught my eye was an interview in Vanity Fair magazine with none other than Faye Dunaway.
She is still alive?
She's alive and kicking, and the headline or the subhead was called "No Wire Hangers." So Faye Dunaway isn't sure making Mommy Dearest was a good move for anyone. I should have known better, she says. Faye Dunaway's chilling performance in Mommy Dearest may be one of the most memorable of her Oscar-winning career, and the actress isn't quite happy about that. In a new interview, the iconic actress reveals her regrets over channeling Joan Crawford in The Infamous Project. And she says, I think it turned my career in a direction where people would irretrievably have the wrong impression of me. Dunaway explained to People magazine of the performance, which reached screens 5 years after she won her Oscar for the movie Network. I remember her in the movie The China Syndrome. I'm sorry. Jack Nicholson. Why am I got that wrong? I'll remember in a minute. Chinatown. That's about California water. It's a famous movie. And that's an awful hard thing to beat, she said, perhaps referring to Crawford's diva reputation, which shadowed Dunaway even while making the film. She added, "I should have known better, but sometimes you're vulnerable and you don't realize what you're getting into." So here we are years later, and we had John had put up a graphic of her as there she is at the birthday party for. I mean, look at how. Even the still tells you how over the top this is.
It was over the top. It was great. That's why it's a gay fan favorite. What's the word I'm looking for?
She said
it's classic.
It's unfortunate that this had. She said the movie was made into camp. She was expecting it to be a window into a tortured soul, Joan Crawford's tortured soul, but it was camp.
It was over the top, right?
She said it was never modulated directorially. She said, "I'm sorry to say, it became camp. It was kind of kabuki." And in light of that, the next image where she's in Christine's what is this? Metal hanger? No metal hangers. I mean, the director just pushed that button and look what he got. He got a classic.
Hey, listen, if it was just done the way she thought it should have been done, it would have died and never been seen again.
Correct. Now, she did say as a professional, you can't be ashamed of the work you've done. You make a decision, and then you have to live with the consequences, which I thought was, that was cool. And then I'll just finish this by saying, although the eventual camp classic, see how they say that, was mostly panned by critics, it performed well at the box office and earned Dunaway positive remarks for the commitment of her performance. One such review was from the very difficult movie critic at the time. You ever hear of Vincent Canby from the New York Times?
Yeah.
If he panned you, man, movie was... So here's what he says. Here's his quote. "Mommy Dearest doesn't work very well, but the ferocious intensity of Faye Dunaway's impersonation does, as does the film's point of view, which succeeds in making Joan Crawford into a woman far more complicated, more self-aware, and more profoundly disturbed than the mother remembered in Christina Crawford's book. In this connection, I can't understand why so many friends and followers of the late actress have raised such a fuss about the film. The woman in this film is much more interesting and comprehensible than the fabled character depicted in the movie magazines and reminiscences on the same literary level. St. Joan of the Fan Mags is nothing more than taxidermy. This lady is alive. Bring me the axe!"
Although Faye Dunaway says that ruined her career, right?
Did. And then
blames. And if you're watching us on YouTube, when you're done watching us, go to YouTube and search Betty Davis, her last appearance on Johnny Carson, where she talks about Faye Dunaway.
what did she say?
So Johnny Carson says to her, essentially, it's a long clip, it's hilarious.
Is this Betty Davis?
Betty
is this
Davis.
Post-stroke Betty Davis?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they say to her, and he says, was there anybody difficult in Hollywood to work with? Oh, yes. And he says, you don't have to say anything. She goes, $1 million, and I'll give you $1 million for anybody you put in a seat will say the same thing, Faye Dunaway. Totally unprofessional. She goes through this 5-minute rant about how horrible Faye Dunaway is.
Faye or Joan Crawford?
Faye Dunaway.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And she goes, we don't have time to go through all the reasons why she's so bad. And Carson is dying. And everybody is there like, oh, my God, she's let loose. And it is, I think, I watch it every now and then. It's almost, you would love it.
Of Betty Davis on Johnny Carson.
She talks about the problem of now no smoking in restaurants. I mean, she goes through all the things that are bothering her, and then she gets into Faye Dunaway, which is quite fun.
Okay, two little things to wrap up this one. You saw Mommy Dearest for the very first time in Denver, Colorado. Yes. You and I were on a fam trip, a ski trip for Subaru.
I forget that hotel.
We were bombed the night before because we forgot about the altitude change. We went out for margaritas, and we wake up, and guess what's on TV?
Mommy Dearest.
You were hypnotized. It was like that wheel spinning, right?
You couldn't believe I didn't see it. I was a bad gay.
Coincidentally, years before Dunaway starred as Crawford, the real Joan Crawford praised the up-and-comer in 1971 and said, "Of all the actresses, to me, only Faye Dunaway has the talent and the class and the courage it takes to make a real star." There you go. That's what caught my eye. Yeah.
Well, mine couldn't be any different. Of course,
naturally.
We finished up a couple months ago. We finished up the Olympics. Of course, the next Summer Games take place in Tokyo, 2020, the Olympics of the future. So, of course, they're ready. Japan's already ready, 4 years ahead of advance. And they've got this. They said that robots are expected to play a huge part in the games. They're also going to help with transportation, directions, and translation. But Panasonic has just released this new megaphone that can translate any phrase into English in just a few seconds. So they're trying it out now.
No way.
The Japanese are trying it out now. Right now, they've got it translated from Japanese into Chinese and Korean. And they're trying it out at some sports venues. They think it could be used in some disaster relief, but they're calling it Japan's secret weapon for the foreign tourists that they expect to come in. And they'll be testing it out, this high-tech invention or innovation, they said, to be ready for the Olympics of the future, which are in 2020. Japan has set aside $2 billion so far for getting the stadiums ready to hold the fans that are coming. They've already got the locations. Unlike Brazil, the typical Japanese mentality, culturally, hurry up and wait. They're all done waiting. 4 years can't come quick enough.
Are the Winter Games in South Korea?
They may be, yeah.
Because they're way ahead of schedule, too.
Well, that's very much the Asian
They don't
mentality.
want a Brazil problem.
Yeah, but I laughed about this megaphone, which I tried to get the...
Could you imagine saying into the megaphone, "Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto"? Like, what people be?
Hello, Mr. Robot. But I thank you very much. I don't know. So I wanted to try to they have a video with it actually working, where they're talking into it and then it's coming out in English, but I couldn't get it to process.
It's great. It's like Star Trek's Universal Translator.
Well, it's the Olympics of the future. And that's exactly what they said. They said it reminds you of something out of early sci-fi. And everybody's anticipating it. But they think it will also have use beyond the Olympics. The other quick one was, you've probably seen in the news, we've talked about this before, but Macy's announced that they're closing 100 stores.
Yeah.
And they said that there's a prediction. So if you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture there of a mall in Canton, Ohio, which is bordered up and done. But they're predicting, this company called Green Street Advisors says that traffic to malls is down 50% since 2013. And they said the mall closure rates are at a terrifying rate of 15% will disappear, which Green Street Advisor says that's hundreds of malls. And they said the difficulty, what's happening is that when a mall closes, obviously it's blight on the economy, but there's no tax. Yeah. You lose tax base, thousands of jobs. And they said, people keep saying, e-commerce warehouses or medical clinics or gyms or somebody will take these unused spaces, but they said that it takes about 10 years. So if somebody did go into a big Macy's location, for them to recap or recoup the dollars, it would take 10 years of consistent renting or leasing to make up for the loss. They also said the problem with stores such as Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, when an anchor leaves a big mall, it also puts a big dent in retail because people are not going to the draw as the anchor store and then hitting little places like Gap or Abercrombie or Williams-Sonoma or something.
So our mall growing up, you and I went to all the time, was the Naugatuck Valley Mall.
Yeah.
Now, that did sit closed for
a while,
8 or 9 years. Yeah. That's why when you said it was Green Street, which is a big, they're really well known for retail.
Right,
retail research. Then they tore it down, and I think they put up housing there. But it was, it's the parking lot, Yep. It's the building, it's a lot of acreage.
They said America has 5 times more square footage of shopping per person than any other country. And they said we're so overstored, it's ridiculous. But millennials in particular, nobody's spending money on clothing. If they do, they're spending it at places like discount retailers like TJ Maxx. Americans are spending more money on technology, vacations, and experiences. So we're not as consuming as we used to be. So I thought that
that's actually interesting, and that has ramifications for the economy, right? Because if you're experiential, then that's going to be more travel money, right?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, very much so. So now we have a little bit of history.
Those who fail to learn from history are forced to repeat it. Enjoy this lesson from Tim. And remember, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
I have to say that Drew, who's the voice of the focus group, he even got the wagging figure in there somehow. Enjoy this lesson from Tim.
Enjoy this lesson. Well, it is a lesson usually. Whether you learn anything or not is debatable. September 24th is National Cherries Jubilee Day.
Ugh.
Now, I would have thought you liked that. Served over vanilla ice cream, classic flambe dessert with cherries and liquor. The recipe was attributed to the French. They don't remember if it was for Queen Victoria's Jubilee or the Golden Jubilee. So it was about 10 years apart. But it was very much standard fare at American restaurants in the 50s and 60s. I don't see it on menus anymore, Cherries Jubilee. Do you?
No, and I'm not upset about that. I'm not a fan.
Do you like cherries?
No, I don't.
You don't like cherries at all.
Here's an example. I was looking at some
Cherries are
almond
good.
chocolate almond butter, dark chocolate almond butter. So almond butter is really good for you because it's better than a peanut. And they have some dark chocolate in there. I was like, oh my God, I got to buy this. And then I read the last ingredient, dried cherries. I was like, blech.
Do you like cherries in your Manhattan?
Yeah, it's different. They're soaked with alcohol. They sit at the bottom of the glass. They don't do anything. They hang out. And then by the time you have the cherry, it tastes like
I was going to
alcohol.
get you Cherries Jubilee, but I guess not now.
Oh, you're smart to avoid that.
It's also National Punctuation Day. One of my professors in college accused me of being out to lunch during grammar and grade school, but it's National Punctuation Day. I never know how to use a semicolon, do you?
Yeah.
When do you use it? What's the one with the period and the comma?
That's the semicolon. Yeah.
How do you use it?
We use it to separate a thought that doesn't require a capital letter after the thought.
I don't think I've ever seen you use one with me, have you?
Um,
We'll have to look for something. When you bring something in next week for next show with punctuation in it.
okay.
You'll make something up, I know. 1869, thousands of businessmen were financially ruined after a panic on Wall Street. It was caused by Jay Gould and James Fisk, who were trying to corner the market on gold.
That's right. I was wondering why those names look familiar when I was looking
Looks
through
like a
the
Wall Street
PowerPoint.
Journal pictures, don't they? Those.
Well, yeah, they used to do the stipple dot or the line drawings, yeah.
1934, Babe Ruth played his last game as a New York Yankee. I didn't know this name, Don Budge. 1938, he became the first tennis player to win all 4 major titles. He won the U.S. Open. He'd already won the Australian Open, French Open, and British Open. I didn't know about him. I don't know. Did you know that name, Don Budge?
Not at
Looks
all.
like a dandy. He's playing in those
That's what they used to wear back then.
pants. Look at how tough those pants are to play in. I think he's got a racket like we would have. By the way, September 24th, Saturday, not a lot going on, as you can tell by what's going on here. 1955, only because she's such an icon for our LGBT community, Judy Garland made her TV debut on the Ford Star Jubilees. Yeah, Jubilee. Not that it's related. But there she
Yeah, but
is.
I like your attempt at theming.
I know.
Semicolon.
1955, U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower. I didn't know this either. We didn't learn a lot in school, did we? He suffered a heart attack while on vacation in Denver.
I never learned about him.
No.
Heart attack, and
None of us did. There he is, looking how
Well-
pathetic he looks in that wheelchair with that wrap around him.
while he's still in the office.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Says the headline says Ike suffers heart attack. Recovery prospects good. 1968, 60 Minutes premiered on CBS. I love that show. 1977, the Love Boat debuted on ABC TV. The theme song was sung by Jack Jones and written by Paul Williams. The first 2 guests were Jimmy Walker and Suzanne Summers.
That's
Among the
right.
first 2
That's
guests.
right. That's right.
Remember, they'd always have Charo or Charles Nelson Riley, and
The Love Boat was one of those things where all the old stars would wash up on
Yeah.
the deck, and then Gopher would buy
Finding
them a
love.
drink. Yeah, exactly.
3 albums. I got some album cover work for you. 1977, Come Sail Away by Styx. 1982, Prince's 1999. And Nirvana's Nevermind were all in 1991. Were
Wait,
all
Tim.
released on this day, September 24th.
Those are singles, right?
Well, those are the album covers, supposedly.
I don't think "Come Sail Away" was. Isn't that the Grand Illusion? Would have been the.
Well, I don't know, John. I'm just going by what was.
John, do you know anything about this?
Come Sail Away. It said
No,
Styx.
John says no.
That's not the album cover?
Well, I think that
cover
might
art.
have been the single cover.
Well, I didn't think that was the Prince one either.
No, that is Prince's 1999, and that's definitely the Nirvana,
Nirvana.
album cover. Yeah,
The boy's little peepee.
yeah. It was one of their babies. One of their kids was in the pool, and that picture became the album cover. Yeah.
Speaking of music, Elvis Presley in 1998 was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Although he was known as the king of rock and roll, he also ruled country music. I did not know that. He was raised on country, gospel, and blues. He brought all those influences to the Sun Studio early recordings. And it said that his music was initially categorized as country.
Yeah.
I did not realize that. Did you
not
know
rock
that?
and roll? No, I would say because he was from down south too. so-
Now, I posted that picture. It looks like the same person who did that plaque for the Country Music Hall of Fame did the Lucy statue. Isn't that a horrible depiction of Elvis?
It doesn't look like him.
Atrocious.
You know.
And then in 1998, the Federal Reserve released into circulation $2 billion worth of the new 20s. And it's due to be redone again, I guess, for lack of a better word, but there's some pictures of the 20s there. So So where are we with science this week on September 24th?
Don't be blinded with science. Here's what you need to know from the week in science, according to John. It's poetry in motion.
Indeed it is when it's time to learn some fun facts. Okay, so this week in science, 928 is the birth in 1925 of none other than Seymour Cray. So Seymour Cray is right there. Does Cray ring a bell at all?
Is he at a fish store? A fish?
No, Seymour Cray is basically credited with creating the supercomputer. And
I was wondering what that was.
okay, so that thing, and if you're watching on YouTube, there's a picture of Cray in his later years, but in this great leisure suit thing he's wearing on the right-hand side, he's standing next to what looks like an enormous piece of furniture. That's a Cray supercomputer. And it had the ability, it ran at what they call 1.9, well, I'm sorry, did I read that right? Yeah, 80 MFLOPS, 80 megaflops. Now, that's a fancy computer term for how many calculations it does a second. To give you a perspective, that whole machine
Right.
doesn't even come close to what's in a smartphone in 2013.
No.
So, but companies were clamoring for the supercomputer. So that was invented by Cray.
They say there's more in your smartphone than what took the first people
Oh,
to the moon,
yeah,
right?
tons more. 28 September, at the age of 63, which is I think is pretty young, Edwin Hubble passed away. Now, do you know Hubble?
Hubble telescope.
There you go. So the Hubble telescope was named for Edwin Hubble, who his biggest claim to fame was Hubble measured distances to galaxies and their redshifts. Do you know what a redshift is? Yeah, okay. And in 1929, he published the velocity-distance relation, which is the basis of all modern cosmology. So he figured out the rate at which galaxies are moving apart from each other, and he also figured out that galaxies come in different shapes. Ours is a
Circle.
spiral. I didn't mean to. It's
It's
not.
all nonsense to me because the whole measurement thing, right? You'd have to live 400 years in order to travel to one of
longer
these
than
places.
that,
Right, so it's not
thousands.
possible.
Well,
So
it's-
why talk about it?
It's good to know. It's good to know.
Not good to know at
Dirt's
all.
dirt.
No.
Good to know.
I find it all crazy.
All right, and here my favorite on my birthday, actually, the 30th September, Hoover Dam was officially dedicated. It didn't start generating power for a few more months after that, but John, could you zoom in?
Boulder Dam, right?
It was called Boulder Dam originally. So on the top right, there's a picture of three guys. I want you to take a look at this. That's FDR in the middle, and he's flanked by a dignitary and what looks like a state trooper or a thing. But here's the thing. FDR was rarely photographed without people around him because he
Right.
couldn't stand.
Right.
So if you see his hand, he's holding the arm of the trooper
Oh,
that's
wow.
supporting him. But to the public, you rarely saw him without the wheelchair. But I chose some of those pictures of Hoover Dam because Hoover Dam's become more of a complex now. The picture on the lower right is of the dam and the Rainbow Bridge, which you
Right.
saw recently. And I've never seen a picture of the dam like that before the lake water filled it
Yeah,
up.
it looks great. I actually had this in the week of history, but I
Did
knew
you? Oh, you
so-
knew I was going to do Hoover
Yeah.
Dam.
So,
Okay.
because I saw that and I said, that's John's. John owns Hoover Dam.
So there you go. That's the week. I'm sorry I couldn't charm you with other things, but it's Hubble,
It was a rough week.
Kramer, Seymour Cray, and the Hoover Dam saved us. Hoover Dam.
As evidenced by the business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So born today, September 24th, in 1936, was Jim Henson.
Oh,
He died very young at 53 years old in 1990. He was a Christian scientist,
I didn't know that.
which I didn't know that. And there were some theories that blamed his religion, which they said that affected his thinking about medical care and medical.
As in, he should have gotten it.
He should have gone and got medical care, but his wife just simply said, who he was separated from at the time, he was on the Arsenio Hall show in 1990, May 4th, and he started coughing up blood, didn't feel very good, and thought maybe he was just tired and ended up going home. His wife came to see him. She thought maybe he should go to the hospital. He said he didn't want to be a bother. By the time he got to the hospital, he was dead. So
Shame.
it was streptococcal toxic shock syndrome. He was only 53 years old. But interesting, what I thought was interesting about his funeral, it was in New York City, and they said in accordance with his wishes, no one was allowed to wear black. he had the Dirty Dozen Brass Band finish the service by playing When the Saints Go Marching In. Harry Belafonte sung Turn the World Around, which was a song that debuted on The Muppet Show. And then every member of the congregation during the had a puppet's rod, and they had foam butterflies that they waved around. Later, Big Bird came out
I was going to say, did Miss Piggy give a
and
eulogy?
sang Kermit Frog's signature song, Being Green. And then in the final minutes, all of the cast people from the Muppets would filed on stage, and they sang in their characters' voices a medley of his favorite songs, eventually ending with the song Just One Person, which was one of his favorites. And then everybody was joined online. The media said the funeral was described as epic and an unbearably moving event. And
Well, it sounds kind of joyful, though.
he was later honored with obviously the Hollywood Walk of Fame and as a Disney legend. But he had a home economics degree from the University of Maryland, which I thought was odd for a man to have a home ec degree.
And a master puppeteer. You know, it's just one of my favorite Star Wars characters came out of the Henson Studios.
Who's that?
Yoda.
Oh,
Yoda was a puppet.
Yeah, I guess I could see.
I mean, and it was brilliant. It was the Henson people that brought him to life. So
that was a
great birthday, and he was a cool guy, big contributor to our culture, right?
Yep.
You know,
Very much so.
Hey, it's the Focus Group. John Nash here with Tim Bennett. We are going to take a very quick break, and when we return, we're going to be welcoming Jen Rubio from Away Travel to the show. So please stay with us.
Brought to you by the award-winning Volkswagen Golf family. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Been in business a week. I got more money than I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Herrera Rocher. He is doing well.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here with my good friend and co-host John Nash. We're all business except when we're not, but we are business right now because joining us as promised is Jen Rubio, is one of the founders of Away Travel, which is a luggage brand. And Jen was formerly of Warby Parker, which a lot of people are familiar with. Also named to Forbes 30 Under 30, which is a huge accomplishment for marketing and advertising. And John had read an article about you and your partner, Steph Corey, who also helped with founding of Away.
Yes, and also Forbes 30 Under 30.
Oh, she was also on Forbes. Okay. So we said, you know what, let's see if you could come in and spend some time with us and tell us about the travel business and luggage and so forth. So thanks for joining us here on the Focus Group.
Thank you for having me.
So first, for me, you've spoken at TED conferences.
At a TEDx conference.
I know we have a lot to talk about with your wonderful product, but what is speaking at a TED like, and what did you talk about?
I've actually talked about travel. So this was back in maybe 2011 or 12, and I was invited to speak at TEDx Boulder. And the theme, the very broad theme, was experiences. So I talked about travel and the anticipation of travel and how people's experiences of travel are ruined by these checklists that we create for ourselves. And that was kind of like a many years earlier precedent to kind of what we talk about at Away now, which is traveling and savoring the experience and kind of really enjoying every single moment of travel. So it's funny to watch that now, not knowing that I would start a travel company years later.
Oh, that is.
So is it similar to if somebody said, I'm going to Paris and I have to go to the Louvre, I've got to go to the Eiffel Tower, I've got to do
checklist.
Exactly.
Checklist, but
exactly.
but maybe you're not interested?
Well, it actually stemmed from me going to Rome, and I was like, I got to go see the Spanish Steps. And I don't know if you've been, but you go, and it's like sweltering hot, and there's like tourists everywhere.
The hot part is
and there's like gelato like dripping, like you're like, oh, gelato in Rome. No, it's
There's
like
an
dripping
espresso
all over your
stand right there,
hands.
yeah.
There's an espresso stand. It's like, and then you're like, oh, this is it. Or like when you stand in line at the Louvre for hours,
Yes.
and then like, and I'm really short, so you finally get to the Mona Lisa, and you're like, oh,
There it
I don't really
is.
see anything.
If you can get by all the cameras and the people.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like this big, and it's behind like a glass box, and and what I really found, having been fortunate enough to travel as much as I have, is like all of the best parts of travel are like the moments in between and the experiences and the people you meet. So that was a lot of what fed wanting to start Away and the travel brand that we're building.
So
now.
accidental travel, not
Yes.
totally, but like when my I come call him my husband now. I used to be partner, but our favorite trips were when we would rent an apartment in a part of a city and just discover the neighborhood and just go off that checklist.
Exactly.
You know, let's go to this cafe, or locals would say to you, "Hey, you got to go check this out.
Yeah.
Don't go over here." And it was the best trips we've ever had.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's, that kind of really shaped the way I think about how people travel today. It's not guidebooks, it's not checklists. And I think people value different things now, which is what really inspired us to start Away.
So Away travel began first as a solution to a problem. Is that a good way of saying it?
Yeah.
And that is, we all know that flying has its downsides. And I remember when flying used to actually be fun and almost glamorous.
No more unless you have your own plane.
But the luggage aspect of travel is something people give very little thought to until they have to.
Right.
And the have to part is, I want to travel on the spur of the moment. I need a carry-on bag. And that's really, for a lot of people, that is the golden, mean, because I want to be able to just put it up and pull it out. And that's what you guys started with, right?
Yeah, we started with one bag, and my kind of have-to moment was I was in Mumbai, and the wheel of my luggage broke. And I mean, I'm not going to go into detail.
At least it wasn't the
about-
zipper, right? Because that's the
Exactly.
worst.
I'm not going to go into how I had to lug that thing through like this massive airport, but I got home and I did what every millennial does, and I went on Facebook and I said, I need new luggage. What brand should I buy? And it was the first time I'd ever tried to crowdsource anything, and there was no
consensus?
No consensus. Usually, if I'm like, hey, I'm going to LA, where should I eat? Everyone will say the same thing. And I'm like, oh, you guys. But there's no consensus. Everyone had like some hand-me-down or something that they've had for like 10 years and don't even know the brand. There's no brand loyalty. There wasn't any company that people that I talked to connected with. And that was the first time I really saw this opportunity to create like an amazing brand, an amazing consumer experience, and build something in this space that didn't exist. And that's similar to what Warby Parker did in the eyewear space. Before they existed, people weren't passionate about their
Not at all.
their
I agree.
eyewear or their eyewear
And those
brand.
who were willing to pay like Oliver Peoples prices for those kind of frames. right?
Exactly. So, but now we, at Warby Parker, having helped build that in a small way, you have people like passionately like on social media talking about their glasses, and that's something we're seeing now with luggage. Everyone loves to talk about travel, but luggage was just this like thing that you kind of had by your side.
When you were responsible for the promotions and a lot of the sponsorship at Warby Parker, correct?
Yeah, so I led their social media team, and then worked a lot on like the brand and partnership side of things.
So do you have an MBA?
I don't. My co-founder does.
And so I was wondering, because there was a big article written in Fast Company about you and your partner, and you recommended, John and I talk a lot about MBA and whether it's important or not, and you and your partner said skip it. And I wondered, it's a long way of getting to the question about developing Away is, do you think that you guys having access to people you may have networked with or were able to get you indoors through either Warby or through the MBA helped with the development of Away, or do you think you could have done it on your own without having access to some of those?
I mean, I think everything that Steph or I have ever done in our careers has been a result of a few things. So one is like the people that we know and the people that we've like cultivated relationships with over the years. I mean, one of the best parts of what we're doing now is being able to work with some of the most talented people that I've developed friendships with over the years, or working with them as investors or partners or whatever it may be. I think the second thing is just Steph and I are just like voracious in like if we're interested in something, we just like get all the information that we can about something and find out like who do we need to talk to about this. And fortunately, we're like not too many degrees removed from whoever like the best person is to talk to about that thing. And then third thing I think is luck. So
You know, it's funny you said that.
It's mostly luck.
Because a lot of people don't actually say the luck component.
Yeah,
It
I
is being
mean,
right place, right time, right idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I don't want
But
to
there's an amount of luck involved.
exactly, and I don't want to speak for Steph, but I actually didn't even finish my undergrad. I
Where'd you
had
go to undergrad?
Penn State, and I had an amazing opportunity to do a co-op that worked out really well, and then I just like didn't go back to school. And my like weird MBA moment was that like I was kind of working my way up the ranks at Johnson and Johnson, and I wanted to work in the marketing department like very badly.
And they said no, you don't have an
And
MBA.
they said you have to have an MBA to work in marketing, and I was like, guys, you. You told me not to go back. I literally can't. So that was and that kind of took me in a whole different path where I like left the corporate world and I was like consulting for and doing social media stuff in a time when that wasn't really a big thing. And you know, and I was in LA and these big studios were looking for like social media consultants to help them. And you know, within 8 months of leaving my job because they told me I need an MBA, I was like running like social and marketing plans for like the biggest studios in LA. So I mean, a lot of it is luck, but a lot of it is just like problem solving and
And now in less than a year, you're going to have 10 million in sales with.
yeah, we are on our way to that.
So yeah, right. I mean, so I hope the Johnson and Johnson people are watching. So tell us about how you. Yeah. So how did you go? What makes your bags different than because there's either really expensive bags or really cheap bags.
Well, John, I think I put so that's one of a planning wall. That's from your website.
That's right.
But the bag itself, which is the premier or the flagship product, is the carry-on.
Yeah, that's our hero product.
I'm gonna hold it up here, and I could just tell you it is.
See how light it is?
Well, I could do it with one hand. This is really cool.
So this is direct to consumer. So you can't buy this at a store. You buy it online.
You can buy it at a store. You can buy it at our store.
Lafayette.
So with direct to consumer, I think a big misconception is that you can only buy it online.
Right.
But for us, what direct to consumer means is that we own the relationship. You can only buy an Away bag from Away, and we only sell Away bags. And that's an amazing opportunity to really get to know your customer, to know what they want, to tell the story the way that you want to. And I think when people love a brand, they're going to interact with that brand in whatever channel makes sense, whether it's online or in person. So in May, we opened a store here in New York on Lafayette and Houston. And as an experiment, it was really like...
I bet it's going well, though.
It's going very well. In fact, so well that someone snatched a 10-year lease from under us, but we have now found a longer-term space in Soho, which opened...
Will you open more across the U.S. or?
Yeah, so that's a big part of what we're looking into in this coming year, not just in the U.S., but also globally. So there's a universal need for great luggage that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and that's what we're going to offer.
So the bag is under $300. Yep.
It's $225,
Okay.
and
For the carry-on.
Yeah, and
there's other sizes, too.
exactly the entire collection. So there's a carry-on, a medium, and a large. It's all under $300. They're all under 10 pounds. And the materials and the quality are something that you would get for a bag like three times the cost of our bag.
Now I live in Philadelphia, so if I wanted to get one and couldn't get to the store, how long will it take for you to get me one? John and I are traveling.
Ships here from the East Coast, so
Pretty quick.
This is
Yeah,
about
very
the size of what I normally travel
Yeah.
with.
No, I thought those would be
That's
great.
the maximum
Those would be
allowable
great for a
size.
trip. Do
I love it. What color would you do?
you have red?
we launched a red today, actually.
So you did launch red.
Yeah.
See, now I'm a red guy.
We launched 3 new colors today, and red is one of them.
What's the other new colors?
It's that green, and then also like a dusty blue, inspired by Morocco.
You'll be doing leopard and all that other stuff next, right?
Anytime soon. So some of the bags you can actually have a USB charging
Yeah.
port. So you can,
Carry-ons have a charger.
I don't understand how that works.
well, if you charge your bag, you plug the bag in, right?
Oh, really?
So that when you're at the airport and you're running low on power,
Plug it in?
you can actually plug your phone in or your iPad or something.
Yeah. And actually, it holds, it'll charge your phone up to 5 times.
Whoa.
So
not
there have been
bad.
weekends when I just have just been charging from my bag the whole
So
time.
when I was looking at I think the only impediment that I would see to experiencing the product on the virtual world online would be that notion of opening it up and kind of visually gauging the space you have.
Mm-hmm.
How do you overcome something like that on a shopping experience that's predominantly taking place on the web?
Yeah.
I mean, you could provide people with measurements and stuff, but it's the visual thing that.
For sure. And that's something that we work on every single day. So everything that we put out is just like ripe for continuous improvement, and based on feedback like that and things that our customers tell us. So we actually initially thought it would be easier to sell luggage online than it would be in
a
person
store.
in a store. So because I don't know when the last time was that you guys bought luggage, but technically you'll go into a department store or a luggage store, and there'll be hundreds of options, and they all kind of look the same, and you're like, why does this $600 bag cost the same or look exactly the same as this $100 bag? I don't know what the features are. So we thought in like a controlled environment of our website, we could really tell the story the way we wanted to. But obviously, like as we've kind of gone along, we've gotten a ton of feedback on what customers understand, don't understand. Knowing what fits in the bag is a big part of that. And also just looking at the bag, you wouldn't realize how much you could fit in there.
I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I could fit what I need.
Well, what's
to fit.
great about it is I've always, for quality sake, and it tends to be a bit too rugged for everything, is I usually just would always go to LL Bean to get my luggage. But a lot of times it's a little bit too rustic at times. So I love the idea of having this very quality bag that's at a, would you guys say it's a luxury bag at Coach price?
First class luggage.
First class luggage. I was trying to do it without putting my glasses on. So so it's a great thing. I have a business question for you as a millennial that's an expert in social media.
Here we go.
So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, who's going to survive?
I'm really hedging on Instagram right now.
So you think Instagram would be the one that...
Yeah, I mean, I think if you kind of... Facebook just seems so irrelevant right now, just from like a user standpoint. I mean, it definitely, from like a business standpoint, we do a lot of like experimenting on Facebook and acquiring customers through there just because they have so much data.
Right.
And obviously
They're
Instagram's
so
part of Facebook. So, but in terms of like a user experience and storytelling and connecting with people the way we're really looking to, that's all happening on Instagram right now.
So that's where you would think you would hedge your bets for the future on Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, it's connected
Well, it's
to
like
Facebook.
connected to Facebook. So.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with
I've
that.
been on Facebook.
That data. But when Tim and I were over on Sirius Satellite Radio, a lot of our producers swore by Instagram. It was kind of like this timeline of their friends and their lives, and it was all through pictures.
Yep.
And it became, we were often told, it's not just any picture, it's got to be a good picture. It's got to be something that tells a story. And now they allow video too, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, so Instagram has evolved from this platform where you have like a very perfectly curated life and everything's kind of like, they're good pictures, as you said. And now they've launched Instagram stories where it's a little bit less polished.
Right.
And really, I've actually seen everyone I follow on Snapchat move over to Instagram stories because they can do that kind of like off the cuff posting with their built-in Instagram audience. So I think them knowing how people want to portray their lives, which changes and evolves all the time, is really key to their survival.
So I think, Jen, you're uniquely qualified for a lot of this because of your perspective, your desire for experiential things, sharing. I mean, we're wired a little differently.
It's all about the pictures. The Facebook really, if you think about it, what people are looking at are the pictures too.
Lately, yeah.
So I
Instagram
think
strips away a lot of that artifice and just gets right to the story.
But I asked that question only because I think your experience with Warby Parker and some of the other things you've done with the studios and now with Away is that it's interesting to get the idea or the thought as to where you think that marketing is going, because there's so many things. There's Periscope, there's Snapchat, there's this, there's that, and everything else. So
and as a business, I can't tell you the number of customers who have found us through Instagram. And even if you just go on our Instagram profile and look at the photos tagged of Away, and you can just see this bag and these beautiful photos all over the world just from our customers. And it's really become like an impactful discovery tool.
One of us needs an Away bag. We're heading. All right, we need, and we could photograph it at Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And
at the Potato Museum.
Yeah. I mean, the other day someone posted a picture of our bag on Instagram. He was like in Jordan riding on the back of a camel, and the bag was like tied to the camel. And it's just crazy to visually see where
the
this
bags
really
go.
goes.
So they're doing the marketing for you. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's made. It's so made.
So let our listeners and our watchers know website and where to find the bags and.
Sure. So you can buy the bag at awaytravel.com. And
Or if you're lucky, here in New York.
yes, here in New York at the store. So our store's open through this weekend. And then we are going to open a new our new store in October.
Okay, so if I want to,
for the holidays.
I'm going to get down there before Friday. Friday is still open?
Yep, it's
Okay,
still
I'm
open.
going to get down there. I'm
Still
going
open.
Just send me a bag, John.
Well, and I'll get you red.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we know which one he wants.
So
And since we talked about Instagram, they can follow us at away.
at away. That's it. That's all.
That's
oh,
it.
Nicely done. Oh, see, this is why she talks to the TED conference. Jen Rubio has been our guest from Away Travel. You can next see her solving the world energy problem by figuring out fusion. Yeah, there's your
that's
Jordan
funny.
guy. That's great. I love that.
Amazing.
Wow.
You can't pay for that kind of stuff.
No.
Is that your boyfriend?
No.
Trying to figure out.
It's a boyfriend.
Get that on a camel. Get
She worked at a studio. I figure she knows somebody, some studio exec out there doing your lifting for you.
All right. So again, Jen Rubio, the company's Away Travel. We urge you to check them out. Tim and I fell in love with the article. Now I'm sitting next to the bag, which you saw on the screen, but it's sitting next to me, and I'm just going to keep it, although I'll get you a red. So stay with us. John Nash with Tim Bennett. We're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we're going to wrap up with a very quick piece of shop talk.
Brought to you by the Volkswagen Golf GTI. Named one of Car and Driver's 10 Best, 10 years in a row. Now, back to the focus group with Tim and John.
Glamour today is nothing but a tight skirt, loose hips, and wet lips.
An entertaining look at the world of business.
Make it work. Make it work. Make it work.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host John Nash. We want to thank Jen Rubio again from Away Travel for joining us and letting us know about some of those cool bags and a cool product. And another thing John and I missed.
Bags.
Bags.
And we live with them all the time. Like, we could have thought about
to come up with something. So we have a quick shop talk here. John found this article. Many of you know in retail, if you followed retail at all, that Walmart is actually doing quite well right now, and particularly in their foodstuffs. People are shopping to buy their groceries at Walmart.
At the Supercenter, what they used to call the Supercenter.
Right, but a lot of people are going, which you would never think of, Target, for instance, Walmart, with food, and Walmart's doing quite well. So this article that you found I thought was interesting because as well as Walmart is currently doing, they plan on eliminating over 7,000 white-collar back-office jobs, which is a pretty big hit.
Well, the takeaway from the article, the bigger takeaway was not only are they planning to do this, but the author of the piece went further to say that this is probably the face of things to come.
Trend, yeah.
That many jobs that are in the $15 to $20 an hour range, their back office or their accounting, are going to be automated and eliminated.
Right.
And so what they did at Walmart is they're trying to eliminate 7,000 of these positions that would occur in the company. It was people that were tallying sales, uploading sales reports to the main store. But for many people who work at Walmart, this was seen as a path of progress where you would go from associate on the floor at $9 an hour to one of these jobs at 15. And now that the job's not there, where's advancement taking you, right?
Well, and Walmart promises that you could certainly still work your way up within the company. But there's a lot of people, and particularly they said, which I didn't think about, a lot of people were former sales associates that worked on the floor that after anyone who's not done retail and been on your feet for 8 hours a day.
It's hard.
It's tough work. And
hard work.
Some of these people that got the back office positions had really felt that it was advancement, and they earned it. And now with this automation process or that trend toward automation now, that same article said close to 50% of other clerical type positions in all industries could be,
at risk.
I think, at risk to be farmed out, which is kind of sad.
What did you make of the safe occupations? And they said it was highly skilled professions like doctors, or ones that demand human interaction like teachers.
I was surprised about teachers because I thought with the advent of online that maybe the teacher. I mean, we've all had boring teachers.
We sure have, haven't we?
So what's to say you
I've
just
had great teachers
right,
too.
We've had great teachers too, but it's about how engaged you are, how entertaining or performing or educational you feel it is. So I was surprised about teachers. I could understand doctors, lawyers, that sort of thing, but a teacher, I thought maybe they could outsource a teacher. I don't know.
This article, I'll cap my thoughts on this by saying I was at a picnic recently, about 4 weeks ago, and I was talking to a husband, wife, and their daughter who was finishing her freshman year of college. And he said, anybody in our age range, and he meant someone in their early 40s and upward, he goes, all we need to know is the following: everything has changed. Everything has changed. He goes, whatever you were doing 20 years ago, you might not be doing now. If you were doing it and your industries hasn't been digitized, you're doing it differently. So I don't know. This, I think in the next coming years, we're going to be seeing more very small and big shifts in the workplace. And a lot of people, I feel, are going to be kind of like, what do I do next? And I hope it doesn't happen when you're at a point in your life where you're like, oh my God, I have like 10 more years left. What, you know what it's...
Welcome to the world, John.
Welcome to Hollywood royalty.
Well, I agree that everything's changed, but hasn't it always? And I wonder.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you, but the pace of change.
The pace.
So, when our parents were growing up, there were people who could have a career at IBM from cradle to grave. IBM does not that kind of company anymore, right? But it's the pace of change.
TV was a fad.
TV was.
Hey, I remember.
TV's not going to be around.
I remember looking for money, pittance at Subaru when the internet and the senior management thought that was just a fad. Didn't need to put a lot of money
when you
into
called up a website back in 1990 something, it was an ugly graphic thing, and you can't imagine putting money on that, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that was the.
Well, you could still be a greeter.
I'll be a greeter
At Walmart.
I'll talk
You and my father would be the world's worst Walmart greeters.
In fact, if your dad and I worked together at the same store, no one would get by.
Nobody get through.
Bottleneck. Right. We'd be asking stories. How's your
Directions.
day going?
I bought that too. Oh, you got to go try this in this aisle. Let me know if you need anything else.
All right.
Get the roasted chicken. It's on sale today. I don't know if you've had it. It's delicious. Here's how we cook it.
And then I would go on again.
Right.
And there's a sale on. Yeah, okay, I got to get going. All right. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. We want to thank of course, our guys in the booth, Garrett and John. They always keep us on the dime and help create a great show for all of you. Big thanks to Volkswagen Group of America. We have been test driving their all-track, all-wheel drive vehicle. Reviews are going to be coming from us via video and from posts, so stay tuned to that.
Be the next show.
Be the very next show will be all about the all-track. That's right, and how we survived on the road together.
Oof, if we're talking, there might be one person here
with our new bags, new bags rolling around. So, hey, everybody, have a great week. Thanks again for taking the time to be with us, and tune in again next week.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on Sirius XM Satellite Radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.